Hi everyone, and welcome to my garden. My name's Jess, and today I have a reading guided by spirit. I love the title that they've given me. Very interesting. It is a moment that you failed to notice. So I'm feeling that this is going to be very, very particular and also quite weighty, like these little moments that we didn't catch can have a clue that spans vast distances and galaxies. So I'm really excited to get into it. And if you are watching the intro, I also have a little hidden pile that spirits told me to add, which is going to be a collective message for whatever collective happens to notice that there's a little secret mystery message. Don't know when it's going to come through. Might just be at the end. We'll see. And that's just 2 cards. But the 3 main piles we have here, 1, 2, and 3, you may feel attracted to one or more of the piles. We also have a little guardian owl watching over us today, and he was the inspiration for this particular message. So I'm just really rolling with it on this channel, and I'm not planning things out. I'm really trying to open myself, go with the flow, and have fun. And I'm liking what has been happening. So I hope you do too. That's all that needs to be said. Now, take a moment to breathe in, connect with your heart, connect with the trees, and choose your pile. Let's get into it. G'day, pile number 1, and I almost said gracias, which is really random and it came into my head. So maybe that's a clue. Are you Espanol? Maybe we will hablar. I don't know. Let's just get into it, okay? That was a weird way to start. But here we have your cards. So let's unveil them. We have the Earth card. We have the Ceremony card. We have Resistance. And we have Sound Healing. Okay. And of course, today the message is all about a moment that you failed to notice. Wow. Okay, pile 1. This seems to be yet again one of the most specific readings I've ever been given, but I'm just going to go with the flow and assume maybe it's a small group of people watching this or a gigantic pool that has all shared a very similar moment. So it's coming through quite poetically. It's saying you were on a beach somewhere and you were watching the sun go down, or maybe come up, maybe the sunrise, and perhaps you took a moment to notice the detail of either a sea urchin or a piece of coral or a starfish on the sand or on the rocks or an oyster. So that's the first thing that wants to come through. And now I'm seeing that image of, I don't know if you've ever been standing in the sun and looking at your own shadow reflected on the water, and the way that the sun seems to radiate off the human body in a very interesting kind of symmetrical reflection, that where the rays bounce off you. That's being shown to me. And something about a sensation of balance that you felt in that moment. If this is an obvious moment to you, it should just pop straight into your mind. I'm also being given the image of 101 Dalmatians and the character who I think her name is Ursula, which also makes me think about the Little Mermaid. There's a sense that in that moment you separated yourself from your story or your conditioning, something that was given to you, and spirit, like given to you by the structures outside of you, like your family or the place you grew up, and structures that weren't necessarily supportive to you, and you had a moment where you felt like you were one with the sea, or and spirit wants you to see that that was a moment where your ancestors were very connected to you, almost in a prehistoric way. I'm sensing like a very, very deep and subtle concept of your purpose was present in your energetic field in that moment. The ancestors, yeah, they want to show you that this is a moment that you can connect back to when you're meditating if you need a sense of strength and support in your body. I'm kind of, yeah, I'm getting some weird like messages I'm trying to interpret. I'm seeing a breast, which is really weird. And it's almost like, why is this is so gross. I'm sorry. But like, oh, I guess it's not gross. It's just about your interpretation. Maybe that's the message. Anyway, the phrase I'm getting is like feeding off the cosmic mother, which is something I would never, ever, ever say. And I think like it strikes me as gross, but then if you really think about it, it's beautiful. And I'm thinking more about what people would think of me when I say a phrase like that. So maybe there's some relevance there for you, the way that message comes out. And now I'm just going to keep speeding through this, and you can interpret whatever's coming through for you. I'm also seeing an octopus, but it's missing 8 of its tentacles, and just one is pointing northeast. What does northeast? I heard somebody talking about northeast yesterday. Does northeast mean something to you? I think it was in the Terrence Howard interview on Joe Rogan with Eric Weinstein. Something about, yeah, oh God, it'd be an impossible moment to find. But Eric was talking about some mathematical concept and explaining what the relevance of far east or northeast is. Anyway, there could some people in this pile could be Israeli or Jewish. That's not for everyone. Okay, let's rein this in. What is this actually about? Why is pile number 1 being shown this message? Okay, now I'm understanding the purpose of this little mystery pile. So I had a 4th pile and I thought it was going to be a group channeling, but now I'm getting that I will bring this pile out for each pile, or these 2 cards out for each pile, and it's going to clarify something in a different way for every pile, and then maybe there'll be a collective reading at the end. Look for fairies. What would your higher self do? You are divinity in blue jeans. Interesting. This kind of looks like the image that I was describing of a shadow on the water. I'm sensing that there's some deep connection with the ocean for you people, and possibly a sense that on some realm or in some life you were a waterbender, and that could be a skill that is available to you on some plane of existence. And if you can connect back to that moment, and whatever moment that was that came up for you when I described looking at the being by the ocean or by the water, there's some kind of very subtle energetic presence in that moment that wants to be known to you. Also something about using your voice and your throat chakra. Something about that moment can be tapped into if you're in need of expansion of your throat chakra and desiring a connection to your inner waters, which is the phrase is coming through, like your inner power, your ability to transmute, your own energies, your own water inside. That's, and then I just keep seeing the infinity symbol, and it's like connecting with that feeling, and that flow from the ocean is something that is going to help you find balance and ease in your life. And it's going to be able to help you tip your 3D constructs of like what feels like it pressures, it holds you down, and help you remember that you're always connected to the infinite source of life. And that's a connection to your higher self. You know, that's a connection to the higher realms. So whatever it was about that moment for you, very specific, but that should help you connect to your higher self. So that's all that wants to come through for you, pile number one. A little bit cryptic, but I'm sure that it helped some, if not many, people watching this video who were drawn and attracted to the thumbnail or the title. So thanks so much for stopping by my garden. If you want to if you want to order a private reading with me, I do them. They're on my website, and I have a little meditation club that is slowly growing into something very joyful and fun. So check that out. And if you feel called to possibly stay till the end, there might be a collective reading there. That is all. See you guys later. Howdy, pile number two. Welcome to your reading. Today we're looking at a moment that you failed to notice. So let's get into it. Firstly, we have terra, which means land. And interestingly, we had Spanish in the first pile. I started the whole pile by saying gracias, which I don't know why it didn't actually become relevant to the pile. Maybe it will be relevant to the collective mystery message at the end. Anyway, that means land in Espanol, growth, sleep, and write a gratitude list. Okay, so yet again, a very, very specific reading where I'm just trusting the specificity here. But for this group, I'm seeing that your moment that you failed to notice occurred in your sleep or in the dream space where you physically reached out and touched something. That could be a metaphor for some people, but as I say that, the image or the knowing of that moment should spring to mind immediately. Perhaps there's more to come if it doesn't, but that's what I'm hearing, and I'm also hearing message in a bottle. So there was something about this moment where your fingers reached out and held something. For some of you, that could be a puppy or a baby, or you touched some flowers in a dream, or something a little more extreme, like having a moment of higher consciousness, where you reached out into some kind of cosmic awareness and knowing. There could be some information connected to your right shoulder. If you're having any problems in your right shoulder, I'm also having this urge to rub my hands together right now. Maybe you can do some self-healing on your right shoulder whilst thinking about this particular moment in a dream. I'm sensing that moment was like a touching point for you, like metaphorically, not just literally, where you were given a little sack of information that can be downloaded to you if you tap into that moment. And for some reason, the right shoulder is really standing out as a point of healing or connection or openness. That could be related to your male lineage, because the father in your energy field or your subtle ethereal body stands on your right, and they would place their hand on your right shoulder and so on and so forth. Your father and your father's father and his father's father's father, on and on until your male lineage is complete. There could be some work for you to do in there. But what is it about this moment? I'm just seeing someone like a tradesman layering and layering on top of layers and layers until they reach a peak, kind of the way that this is forming here. But I'm seeing it in each of these images, you know, the growth of these roots, the peaks of these fungi, and as this lady piles on her list of things she's grateful for, there's a sense that connecting or tapping into this moment again and again will continue to build on itself for you. It's almost like I'm seeing the word 18, the number 18. That could be a date, or it could be a number of days, like 18 days of repeatedly touching on this moment for you could allow you to build something really strong, some kind of a foundation spiritually for yourself. And it seems like writing this list of what you're thankful for has some connection with it. I'm just being shown that the act of gratitude or the energy of thankfulness or relief allows you to fortify each layer of spiritual knowing and building on some kind of tangible level. It's kind of like Spirit wants you to recognize that in any moment where you have a wish or a wish fulfillment, it's very important for you to cap it with just a moment of thankfulness. It has some kind of energetic glue for you. And maybe that could have to do with this meditation practice just at the end. So like this could be you sit for 5 minutes a day, touch your right shoulder and channel from the place of that moment in your dream where you touch something. And then at the end, give your thanks to yourself and to the universe for that experience and that download of information. There's also a sense of reaching out and receiving. It's almost like, what can I receive from that moment? A sense of, it's like every day. It's almost like I'm seeing you writing a list on a piece of paper every day and writing 1 through to 18, very specific, but for each of those days, writing the one thing that you gleaned as a piece of knowledge from that practice of connecting to your shoulder, whether that's a shoulder injury healing or your male lineage or the patriarchal lineage on your right side, and connecting into that. And the one message that you download or receive as you do that, you write it down each day until you have a whole list of these little knowings or things that you're grateful for. That is all that wants to come through for this group. It seems like you guys must be highly spiritual and powerful. It's a very niche message and it's not very simple. So if you're here, good on you. You're clearly doing the work, and I'm sure that all of my strange words were cleanly transferred to you in this moment, and you know what to do. So take all the little gems and the symbols of that. Thanks so much for stopping by. If you want a private reading or if you want to check out my meditation energy club, you can have a look at my website in the links below. Thanks so much for stopping by. See you again next time. Hello, pile number 3, and welcome to your reading. Today we're looking at a moment that you failed to notice. So let's get right into it. Your first card is luck. Second card is fire. Your third card is fear. And your final card is pleasure. Interesting. All right, so this one is quite practical for this group. I'm firstly seeing you writing down on a piece of paper a mind map, or like little bubbles where you reflect back on different events in your life where you felt a very particular emotion of connection, freedom, expansiveness, and outgoingness. Yes, this seems to have something to do with confidence, and a sense of fire, or a night where things felt just really free and confident and flowing for you. So this could be multiple occasions, in which case Spirit is asking you to write down those occasions, to pull out the facets of each of those occasions that stood out to you. Like, for instance, I was very talkative. I made lots of new friends. I wore this particular dress that made me feel really fancy. Anything that made you feel good about that moment, write it down and see if you can spot the similarities or the through line in your energy when you experienced those moments. So these can be like the best nights of your life. I don't know why I keep getting nights, but it seems like this has to do with this, like, I come alive in the nighttime thing, or a sense of inhibition, maybe a time where you were lucky, having a lot of fun and freedom and connection with others. And there's something about those moments that Spirit wants you to see about yourself, so that you recognize that they weren't just flukes, they weren't just luck, they were actually you in your highest potential and your natural energy. It was just the fact that you were feeling so supported in those times that you reached into your highest path. So this makes me want to talk about something. So I contemplated whether or not to share the actual piece of paper, but I think I will. I think there's something in this for me for sharing something a little bit potentially shameful for myself. I keep this piece of paper by my bed, and I call it Habits of the Crashing High. So, you know, when you have a crashing low, which is, well, not all people have this, but I happen to be quite an extreme person, or at least I have been in the past, where my emotions swing to such extremes that when I'm feeling low, I doubt everything I've ever done. I feel like a complete failure, and I feel like nothing's ever gone right for me. So that might resonate with you. I'm sure it does for some. Otherwise, this wouldn't be what you need to hear. So for me, I noticed, however, that on very rare occasions in my life, I have something called a crashing high. And this could be, for example, in stand-up comedy. You know, we have so many different nights, and I'm a stand-up comedian as of 6 months ago, but I've been hustling really hard and I'm nearly 50 gigs in. So I've experienced a couple of nights that are just electric, where the audience totally gets you, where you feel super confident, where everything is going right, and you come out of it, even if it was a small crowd, you come out of it feeling like an absolute rock star and like life couldn't get any better than this. You feel like you're already famous. You feel like everybody understands you. Nothing went to waste in your life and nothing was in vain. So for me, I started noticing that this crashing high gives me all of these different feelings that I never have in my everyday life. And so I noted them down, and I'm going to read them out for you. So the first one for me is that the concept of delusion melts away. So any ideas I had that I was delusional for thinking I was capable of such and such a thing, it disappears in this moment of the crashing high. Number 2, suspicions that I have always been destined for this and are naturally better than others are true. Now, okay, this is where it gets embarrassing that I'm showing this off, because, you know, sometimes to make yourself feel good, you need to see that you feel you're a cut above the rest in particular ways. I'm learning to live a life without shame and without guilt. So I'm just going to leave that there, and I understand that doesn't seem like a very spiritual thing to say, but I think when you're on your own and you're sharing it with yourself and not, you know, whoever many members of the public might be watching on YouTube, it's like totally ruthlessly allowed that you would have a personal pep talk with yourself. So maybe you need a bit of that kind of energy, like shameless self promotion within your own bedroom. 3, I become excessively confident and outgoing. I notice that I become way more talkative. I introduce myself to people shamelessly. I stop worrying about the judgments of others. I feel that they are irrelevant and that judgments are below me. I visualize extreme ambitions and collaborations with people that I hadn't allowed myself to visualize before. I feel like success and celebrity are happening now, and I trust all of my creative ideas. So this could be an exercise for you that goes along with that little mind map that got mentioned at the start of what is your crashing high? What do you feel when you're on top of the world, and when you're feeling delulu, when you're feeling like this is totally crazy, I'm feeling manic, I'm feeling like way too good about myself and I should pull myself back down to earth. Think about that. Allow yourself to balance that out, because we concentrate on that crashing low so often. And I just see that, the more you can notice this like spark of the crashing high, it's like these love hearts, just like slowly growing, slowly elevating, level by level. There's something in that for you that's just, it ties everything together. It makes you feel grateful. It makes you feel like everything you've done in your life is worth doing, and it leads to something relevant, So that seems to be all that's coming through for you here. Now, although this is the end of the reading, these 2 spare cards, which are the mystery reading, group reading, I feel like they want to bleed over from yours into the collective reading. So if you feel called, and I think it is for you, Pyle 3 as well, I'm going to open these up and read this out. Not read this out, but channel. And I'm just going to channel freely for the rest of the video. So let's see what comes through. Otherwise, thanks for popping by. Pyle 3, if you want a private reading, you can check out my website. I also have a meditation club, which is slowly growing, and I'm experimenting with all sorts of things in there. So check that out. You can be a free member. You don't have to pay. And I provide for free members and also $3 a week members, where there'll be more perks. So anyway, let's get into the collective reading. So these already came out for Pyle 1 at the end, and then we didn't really need them for Pyle 2, but Pyle 3, if you're here, this is what the collective reading for whoever stumbled into the mystery message here today. The first thing that wants to be said is, and this came through for each of the piles, there's some kind of fortification for each layer of growth or layer of building in your awareness and your consciousness that can be sealed off in an act of gratitude or in a moment of recognizing the growth. I think when we're doing really high, elevated spiritual work, or when things are moving really fast, we fail to recognize what we actually learned and what we integrated in our bodies and our systems, and we tend to forget. And writing these down, these layers of what happens and what changes for you in each day, what you learn. And I'm not talking like some crazy like journal entry, just a single line or even one word to be like a touchstone for you in your practice of spiritual growth and learning can be really, really helpful. For me, for instance, I was talking about the crashing high in Pyle number 3 versus the crashing low. And we all know the crashing low, which is when you feel absolutely terrible about yourself and you suddenly doubt everything you're doing and everything you ever have done. And I found myself in that particular situation about a week ago, in alignment with the full moon and my bleed. Everything just seemed to crash to pieces for me. And in that moment, I can become delusionally down about myself and my path. And So for me in those moments, it's absolutely crucial that I have all of my diaries of this recording of the moments of growth so that I can read back and remind myself, oh, yeah, that did happen just last week. I did grow in this way. So this can be this. It feels that the collective message is spirit wanting to teach you some kind of higher capacity to build your it's so many things. It's your foundation, it's your nervous system, it's your, again, the word capacity coming through, like your capacity to remain stable and to remain balanced and to feel your spiritual growth and hold on to those integrations. You know how when you're doing manifestation work, it's all about not swinging back into your old patterns. It's something about that, being able to hold to that higher frequency and that greater knowing that you have, finding ways to be able to latch onto that so that you're always climbing, always building, and you don't have this swing back and forth. What else wants to come through? Spirit wants, and again, I'm feeling that the fairies came through for our last video. If you haven't checked that out, there might be something there for you. I'm feeling like the fairy realm in particular really wants to hone this, like, this is more important than you think and than I think. Like, I'm just getting there's this massive, like, hammering emphasis on this message here, because I think maybe as humans we don't realize all of those sankaras we're making. If you know the Vipassana theory, the idea of a sankara is a line we draw in the sand of a thought pattern or a belief system, and it deepens every time we think it. And I think Spirit's trying to show me that in this realm of the subconscious or thought forms that we can't visually see or perceive, we are running rampant with our thoughts and our emotions, and we're losing so much of the learning that we gain in each of our healings and each of these tarot readings that we watch. All of the moments of wisdom that we have in our day, they get lost in the field of our repetitive thoughts. And so they're wanting to show me how important it is that we mark a practice for ourselves every single day. And that can be literally 5 minutes. That's what I'm being shown, is some moment that you take for yourself. I'm seeing toes in the sand. That can be for you. You have a lucky rock that you hold on to and look at, or a moment where you sit on a lucky rock, or you have a tree that you like to sit by, or it could even just be gazing at the sunrise or the sunset. A moment that you have for yourself that is pure and sacred, and where you can take this moment to note the wisdom that you gained in that day. This is one way that you can tether down all of that growth and all of these cosmic shifts and changes, instead of having them fly away like flags, and then you have to scramble back and learn the same lessons again and again, only to find that 10 years later you're reading this diary that you wrote where you had to learn the exact same lesson. You're like, oh, I forgot about that one. So this really feels like it's just a message for me, honestly. But I can feel it, and I hope I'm communicating it strongly enough. It's like a fabric. I'm seeing, like, like cross stitch, when you make a cross stitch painting. It's like the gridding, like the etheric grid wants you to weave it down. It's like it wants to be tied down by these moments of recollection and recording what you've learnt that day and what the little piece of wisdom was, even if it was small or big. Okay, I think I've hammered into that enough, and I feel that that is the end of today's reading. Came out with gusto. Thank you for stopping by my garden. Check out my website if you'd like to book a private reading or join my meditation club. And I'll see you next time. Adios.